Two people get a CT scan for back pain. Both scans turn up small kidney stone that neither of them can feel. 5 years later, one of them has never had to think about it, but the other one has ended up on an operating table. Same stone, same size on day one. Two completely different endings. What split them apart was the decision that was made the afternoon the stone first showed up. So if a scan ever found a stone you did not know you had, you are standing at that same fork right now. Watch it or treat it. By the end of this video, you will know which silent stones are safe to leave alone, which ones quietly turn into surgery, and the exact features that separate the two, and what a brand new 2026 analysis says about treating a stone before it ever causes a single symptom. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm Dr. Hashmi. I'm a board-certified nephrologist and obesity medicine specialist, and this is one of the most common questions I get after a CT scan finds something nobody was looking for. Now, let's start with how often this happens, because it's a lot more common than people think. When researchers looked at CT scans of healthy adults being screened to donate a kidney, about 1 in 20 had a stone they never knew was there. These were healthy people cleared to give away a kidney, and 1 in 20 was quietly carrying a stone. As scans get ordered more often for back pain, belly pain, and emergency room visits, more of these silent stones get found by accident every single year. Most of them, though, never cause any trouble. That part is true, and it's the reason your doctor may have said the words, "Just watch it." But silent is not the same as harmless, and the numbers make the difference clear. There's a long-term study from a hospital in Birmingham, England, where doctors followed people whose stones were found by accident. Most of them simply watched without treatment for more than 5 years. The chance of a stone causing a problem did not stay flat. It actually climbed. It was about 3% at 1 year. It rose to roughly 19% at 3 years. And by 5 years, it reached about 31%. Over that window, about 1 in 4 eventually needed a procedure. Sit with that statistic for a second. At 1 year, a silent stone looks almost harmless. By 5 years, nearly a third have caused pain, blockage, or a trip to the operating room. The risk has not disappeared. It was just running on a slow clock. Still, the same study is a reason the panic is a bit misplaced. About 60% of those stones were left on watchful waiting for more than 5 years and never needed anything done. If you've been told you carry a stone you cannot feel, the real question is not whether it hurts now. It is how likely is it to act up later. And that, it turns out, is something the evidence can predict. What separates a stone that stays quiet from one that ends in the operating room is not luck. A second study followed nearly 300 people with silent stones for about 4 years. Roughly a third of the stones passed on their own. About 1 in 6 grew, and around a quarter started causing symptoms, and about 1 in 8 needed surgery. The pattern in who got into trouble is not random, and this is the part you can use. Stones larger than 5 millimeters and stones sitting in the lower pole, the bottom of the kidney, were less likely to pass on their own. Diabetes and high uric acid predicted stone growth. Larger stones and older age predicted surgery. And in that Birmingham study that I talked about a little bit ago, the 2 strongest warning signs of all were younger age and a stone that grew more than 1 millimeter a year. The location piece that I just mentioned confuses a lot of people, so let me make it physical. Urine drains downward and out, but the lower pole of the kidney actually sits below the exit, like the bottom of a teapot is below the spout. A stone there has gravity working against it. It can sit there for years and then shift at the worst possible moment and jam the drain. A stone near the top, on the other hand, has a much clearer path out. Now, size matters for a blunt mechanical reason. The tube from the kidney to the bladder, the ureter, is only a few millimeters wide. A stone under 5 millimeters often has a real chance of slipping through and passing on its own. Past that size, the odds of a clean pass drop, and the odds of getting stuck climb. Before anything else, get two numbers off your most recent scan, the exact size of the stone in millimeters and where in the kidney it sits, upper, middle, or lower pole. Those two facts are going to drive almost every decision that follows, and they are usually sitting right there in the radiology report nobody read to you. Now, if the plan is to watch, watching has to mean something. Watching is not forgetting. In these studies, surveillance meant a scan and a clinic visit usually once a year, specifically to answer one question: did the stone grow? That is also why your doctor may use ultrasound instead of repeating CT scans every time. Ultrasound uses no radiation, and for tracking a stone you already know is there, it's often enough. You don't want to trade a small stone risk for years of unnecessary radiation. The imaging is chosen to match the job. And while you watch, you're not helpless. The simplest, best supported move to lower the odds a stone grows or a new one forms is fluid. Most stone formers are told to drink enough water to make their urine pale and to keep it that way every day, not just when they remember. That single habit does more than any supplement on the shelf, which brings up what does not work, because your feed is full of these things right now. The videos that are promising to flush your kidney stone in 3 days with coconut water, olive oil, lemon, or to dissolve them with a special tonic, they are selling you a result that your body just cannot deliver. A stone you can see on a scan is a hard mineral deposit. It doesn't melt because you drank a juice. What good hydration does is lower the chance of forming the next one and help a small stone that is already moving finish the trip. It doesn't dissolve a stable stone sitting in your kidney. Now, if a remedy promises to make a visible stone disappear in days, that's just a marketing claim. That's not a medical one. Now, there is one real exception worth naming, so I'm not overstating this: pure uric acid stones. And there are a specific minority type. They can sometimes be shrunk by making the urine less acidic under a doctor's guidance. That is a targeted medical treatment for one stone type. It's not the catch-all flush being sold online. Remember, most stones are calcium-based and they will not dissolve that way. Here's the part that surprises people, and it's the one I want you to carry out from this video today. For many silent stones, the bigger danger is not the stone you measure today. It's the one that is bigger on the next scan. Growth, not size on day one, is the biggest predictor of trouble, which raises the question almost nobody asks out loud. If catching that growth early can prevent the whole problem, should you treat the stone before it ever speaks up? That is exactly what a brand new analysis set out to answer. In June 2026, the World Journal of Urology published a systematic review and meta-analysis that pulls 6 randomized studies, about 592 patients, comparing treating an asymptomatic stone against simply watching it. The treatments were standard ones like ureteroscopy, shockwave lithotripsy, and a newer ultrasound-based technique that nudges the stone out. The results leaned in one direction. Treating early lowered the odds of a later stone by about 65. It cut the odds of needing surgery down the road by more than half. It reduced the chance of a stone growing, and it did all of that without raising the rate of complications compared to watching. That matters because every later procedure carries its own cost, anesthesia, recovery, and the small but real risk of any surgical operation. Preventing a future surgery is not just convenient, it removes a real hazard from your time. That sounds like a clean win for treatment, but as always, there's a catch. There were only 6 trials. They used different procedures, and the authors themselves say this is not a green light to blast every silent stone on site. The guidelines still favor watching many of them, with a shared decision between you and your urologist. Read this the right way. It's a real signal that early treatment helps selected people, not proof that everyone should be treated. A silent stone is a slow roof leak. Fixing it before the ceiling stains is cheaper and cleaner than fixing it after. But you would not tear off the whole roof for a stain that may never appear. You act when the evidence says that this particular leak is spreading. When someone sits across from me after a scan turns up a stone they never felt, this is a conversation we have. Not should it come out, yes or no, but does this stone at this site, in this spot, with your history, fall into a group that early treatment actually helps? So how should you use all of this? If your stone is small, in the upper or middle kidney, not growing, and you have no diabetes or history of repeat stones, watching with yearly imaging is a sound, evidence-backed plan. But if your stone is larger than 5 millimeters, sitting in the lower pole, growing on serial scans, or you have diabetes or a history of stones, that's the higher risk group. So bring this 2026 analysis to your urologist and ask them, am I someone early treatment would help, or am I someone safe to watch? Before the takeaway, 2 questions from the comments on my last kidney stone video because they capture this exact force. The first, from one of you who subscribes, and I'm going to paraphrase this here. They wrote that they went to the emergency room for stone pain on and off for years, were told each time that they had probably passed it. They never went back for a scheduled follow-up, and a recent scan showed that the stone had grown to 18 millimeters. And their question was whether a juice or an herb could shrink it now. I'm going to answer this as general education, not advice for them specifically, but this is the whole pattern this video is about. A stone that size did not grow because one visit missed something. It grew because nobody was tracking it on a schedule. And no juice or herb dissolves a calcium stone that large. Once a stone is in that range, it is past what passes on its own. So that becomes a conversation with a urologist about which option fits. Once again, it's not a flush. For everyone else, the follow-up scan is the thing that would have caught this years earlier. The second comment was also from a subscriber. They wrote that a scan had just turned up their first stone about 1.5 millimeters, not blocking anything, and that they were going back for a more detailed scan. Now, that is the situation where 2 numbers matter most. A stone that small with nothing blocked usually falls in the watch group, and the detail scan gives the baseline to measure against next time. Get the size and the location off that report and put the next scan on the calendar so you can see whether it stays or grows. One more thing before the takeaway. Once a month, I go live just for members and answer your kidney and metabolic questions for a full hour on camera in real time. That live Q&A is the main reason most people join the membership on this channel. Members also get a new video 2 days early. So if any of that sounds useful, please hit that join button right under the video. And I would really appreciate it. Thank you. Now, if you want the research that's translated like this every single week, also consider subscribing to the newsletter. It's on selfprinciple.org/newsletter. All right, here's the idea that ties all of this together, and it's not something any single scan can tell you. A silent stone is not a yes or no problem. It's a trend. The reading on day 1 matters far less than what the stone does on the second scan and the third. Remember, watching a stone is a real medical plan, not neglect, but it only works if you keep watching. So the single most useful thing you can do this week is not change your diet or buy a supplement. It is put the follow-up scan on the calendar before you close this video. The people who get hurt by silent stones are always the ones who heard just watch it, felt relieved, and then they never went back again. And remember, see a doctor sooner, not at the next checkup if you got any sudden flank pain, blood in the urine, fever, or pain when you urinate. Remember, these are signs a quiet stone has really stopped being quiet. If you want the next piece of the stone series, the foods that actually drive stones to form in the first place, here's a video that you can watch next. It's called The 7 Foods Are Your Real Kidney Stone Problem, and it's the prevention side of everything we've just covered. I want to thank you guys so much for checking out this video. As always, don't forget to practice kindness and gratitude, and I'll see you guys next time.